Tasting Anarchy, your wine and liberty podcast. Join Mason and Jake each week as they try new wines and discover how much government is in your drink.
All right, Mason, it's been a long time since you and I have recorded together in person.
I was going to say, sat directly across from each other? Yes.
Yeah,
it has been over a year at this point.
Yeah, it has been, and so I'm very glad that we're getting to do this. So,
as am I.
Why don't you tell the listeners why you're out here in Dallas visiting me?
In Dallas visiting Jacob because we have just had the triumphant first Chillderburg, which was, I don't know how to describe it other than a blast.
Yeah, it was tons of fun. I guess really we're probably going to just talk a little bit about Chillderburg today, and as we've been kind of promoting, review a near $200 bottle of wine. Now, granted, I didn't pay anywhere near $200 for it, but it is a very expensive bottle of wine. This is a 2014 vintage of Rubissau. Is that how you say it? How would you say it?
Rubissau.
Rubissau?
It's Rubissow. So
yeah, it's the Reserve 2014 Cabernet Sauvignon from Mount Verde in Napa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
The 2015 retails for about $140 online. Mm-hmm. This one, although I can't find any of it available online, the last price it was going for was like $180. I keep saying these numbers wrong. $179.
Mm-hmm.
And this though I got on Last Bottle Wines for $70.
Not bad.
Which is not bad.
Yeah.
We had a bit of an ordeal opening it.
Yes.
Which was odd that
I've never seen that happen with a full cork.
Oh, see that's happened to me a couple of times, which may mean it's operator error. Because so what happened was I put the corkscrew in to open it, and it pushed the corkscrew into the wine. But because it was relatively full,
well, not the corkscrew, the cork itself.
The cork itself, yeah. But because it was relatively full, I couldn't get the it wouldn't push in any further without spilling the wine. And then I tried to use the pressure corkscrew instead, but it wasn't getting enough pressure behind the cork to push it back out. So then when I dug it out with the knife, it sprayed wine all over my face.
Jacob looked like the guy from American Psycho.
Yeah.
It was like splashed across his face, all over his shirt, up on his arms, and it was like, I really wish I had taken a picture because it was like a really cool look.
Yeah.
Even though you're covered in like $200.
Yeah,
$200 spray.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So while I tell the listeners a little bit more about this, some of it I've already covered, but I'll go back through it. As we said, it's I'm going to say Rubissow, but I think it could be Rubissow wines. Mm-hmm. Mount Verde, Napa Valley, California, Cabernet Sauvignon. They suggest that it goes very well with venison or beef. It is red, between 14 and 15% alcohol. On the bottle, I think it said 14.
It's a very
14.9.
Yeah, very minimalist bottle, like the Pinot.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Little dude playing clarinets or something like that.
Well, it looks like a kind of a Greek inspired, like old school, like it's like a flowing dress almost, and he's got like two horns in his mouth.
Yeah.
Or two trumpets, maybe.
Yeah.
Would be a better description. All of the stuff is directly printed on the glass.
Yeah.
So it's not like a peel off label that I can tell. So it's it's a raised label. The front has the person and the year on it, and then the back has kind of the information about it.
Yeah.
So very reminiscent of the Pinot bottle. It looks like the bottle darkens actually as it goes lower, so it's kind of hard to tell if the bottle's empty or if that's just the light in the apartment.
Right.
The wine itself, ultra dark.
Yeah.
Like really black almost, but like with a red hue around the edge.
Yeah, and so I'll go ahead and read the back of the bottle too. It says, the best of our vineyard, unfined, unfiltered, 250 cases produced. It's 12 bottles times 250, which I don't want to do that math because...
Well, it's so that's like 1,075 maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, because 250 times 10 is 2,500.
Yeah.
So 3,000.
Okay.
Because 250 twice, so it's an extra 500, so the two, so that's 3,000 bottles. So 3,000 and nearly $200 a bottle. They sell it sellers for 100. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've had a couple sips of it. It doesn't. Maybe it's because it's just 10, 11 in the morning. Maybe my palate hasn't come up. It doesn't really like Pinot. Like I could tell right away. it was something special. And that's, kind of our classic, like,
that's the one.
What is, like, was it Pinot, like, actually special and that much? Did the value, like, subjectively throw us off?
Yeah.
Is it really actually not a great bottle of wine, but because it was so different than everything we'd been having? Because this is much more like classic Cab Sauv, but more mellow, which isn't bad. Mm-hmm. We've also, like, really, as the listeners heard, with the cork fiasco, we have it in a decanter, which we don't normally go that far.
Yeah.
Then we had it open from there, kind of as Jacob was working on it. So, I mean, it hasn't been open for a huge amount of time, but usually when you open, like, you're not exposing it to less. Like, usually it doesn't lessen the flavors. It enhances some, but it, like, kind of mellows things out. So,
it is a little punchy. It's a little hot. Aroma wise, very, very fruity aroma, which is a little bit unusual to me for Cab Sauv. They are fruity, but it's a lot of times it's the other flavors, leather, vanilla, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. This one, to me,
it's got a fruity front note,
like very jammy almost.
Yeah. If you haven't sipped on it before and you don't slosh it too much, there's a lot of alcohol effervescing off of it. So, like, at least in the glasses that we're drinking it out of, that first, like, sniff I just took got, like, a lot of alcohol on it, but not in a bad way. It wasn't like, just like I shot rubbing alcohol in my nose or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good. It's a little hot. I would say, though, even though this is almost $100 more, quote unquote, even though we didn't pay that much, we paid actually less than the Pinot. Mm-hmm. I would still say Pinot is our creme de la creme.
Yeah, of Cab Sauvs.
Cab Sauvs, yeah.
This one kind of makes me think more, because now I'm starting to get the heat, and a little more of the, like, kind of, not as, like, tannins in it, because it's, like, starting to dry my mouth out, but, like, also it's kind of weird, because, like, on the back periphery of my tongue, it's starting to salivate a little bit, which is what I usually associate with acidity. So it's like acidity tannin combination there for me. It's one of those ones that, like, if I paid the $200 for it, I probably would be disappointed. But I think somebody who's a little more experienced in Cab Sauv than I am probably would get a lot more out of this, because what I like about Pinot is the difference of it, like, having blueberry notes, which you don't really seem to get in a lot of Cab Sauvs. It was like a different Cab Sauv. So I'd be really interested to see, like, on their website, like, if the winery produces anything but Cab Sauv, because, like, the Pinot, the people who made Pinot, like, that's all they do is Cab Sauv. And then they have, like, from different vineyard sites, and then they do some blending of those, but some of them are pure from that one site. So it's really interesting, the combinations they do. And then I would really be interested if this is 100% Cab Sauv, or if it's 95% Cab Sauv and something else.
Right.
So
it doesn't say 100% on there, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not.
Yeah, but with a Cab Sauv, as we kind of have learned, they don't.
Yeah, I think 85 it can be up
85 is the minimum that you have to do to be able to do the label as one wine type. That's not to say that it isn't 100%, like we said, it's not to say that it isn't 100% Cab Sauv. It certainly might be. Or even if it's not, it might be such a low percentage that it might be just for filling. But if you're only doing 250 cases, like, I understand the label, but, like, at that point you kind of know the volume. So unless you, like, get something skunked, for, as we were always discussing, like, how creating the label and how much, like, work it goes into getting the bottle approved and all that stuff. So if it was 140 cases because you didn't have enough to fill, you know what I mean? Like, you can kind of be like, well, we didn't go crazy with it, where, like, you're stuck going, like, well, we have to produce this much volume. Yeah. So might have been really easy for them to just cut it at a certain point.
So I'm also, now that I've had a couple more sips of this, it's pretty acidic up front when you taste it. You get that mouthfeel. It is tannic, but I don't know if you've noticed, when you sip it, the tannins are there, your mouth is sticky, and then it goes away very quickly.
Well, that's what I was saying, because remember I was saying, like, my mouth, like, I was salivating on the back edge of my tongue pretty quickly after those sips. So, like, this is one of those ones I kind of call it a hot take. Like, I don't think our review, if we had more time to do, like, a more conventional show, I think we'd probably end up really digging it.
I think so too. Like, now like, I'm kind of
you're in the mode.
I'm in it a little bit more now. Like, there's black licorice, there's toasty oak, definitely a lot of berry though. It's very jammy,
fruity.
But not sweet at all. It's very dry.
Yeah.
A much lighter mouthfeel than a lot of Cab Sauvs. But not as smooth and delicate as the Pinot. Like the Pinot was very not viscous, but it was light bodied for a cab.
Yeah, it's more like a noir.
Yeah,
it's
it was really
but this is still actually pretty like for cab, still very light bodied. Like I mean, but
especially
not,
if we're comparing it to our favorite
Freak
show.
Yeah, it's like definitely not off. So like with like if you have Pinot, which is just basically almost in the noir like mouthfeel, this is like 5 inches over. Like it, like on a, it's not like you're not walking out of the door to be like, oh, into Cab Sauv mouthfeel. You're really still kind of in that transition between noir and like Cab Sauv mouthfeel. Like it's much closer to the noir side.
Yeah, there's also a little like cocoa powder taste to it. It's interesting, and I'm wondering if my palate has changed quite a bit since we did the Pinot. And the Pinot was a year and 3 months ago that maybe we did.
I mean, it was around your birthday.
Yeah, so it's been a while, and my palate has changed a lot. I drink a lot more Pinot Noirs. I drink a lot more red blends. I drink a lot more right bank style red blends than I used to as well. And this, I think, is mouthfeel wise much more similar to the right bank. So I'm wondering if we got that same vintage of Pinot again, what we would think about it now as compared to then.
Yeah, and I really wish we could get if you could get the Pinot and it was controlled.
Yeah.
So like it didn't age any further in the bottle.
Yeah.
And try that exactly at that time.
Yeah.
I think the Pinot has also probably had more actual production.
Okay.
Like there's there's probably more cases produced than this, maybe like 1,000 cases or something like that to get it in Virginia. You know what I mean? Like only 3,000 bottles that's a really low amount.
Yeah.
Like
it's a small producer, and that's one of the cool things about Last Bottle Wines is most of the stuff they have is from small producers, and it's just kind of fun. It's sort of like getting craft brew, like and a lot of it is from Napa, but there is a lot of small producers in Napa that do very high quality stuff, but you just aren't going to find it at Total Wine. You're gonna need to either get it direct or go to a wine shop, like a small wine shop, and they'll maybe have more of that kind of thing. Or you could go to tastinganarchy.com and sign up for Last Bottle Wines, and you get it from Last Bottle Wines. And
exactly,
get $10 off,
and then have like a different experience because they. It's a very curated experience, but for kind of that Woot model where it's like, you can only get it at this time frame for this long and all that. Yeah. So Jacob, what was your favorite of Chillderburg?
Chillderburg? The older I get, the more I realize how much I appreciate just hanging out with new people. Mm-hmm. And I'm very much an introverted person.
Yeah.
But you and I met because I sought out the libertarian group, and you also sought out the libertarian group, and then you and I end up taking over that libertarian group and making it a social club rather than a political action club. And then for whatever reasons, like that kind of pittered out. And then when I moved here, immediately I was like, well, I got to meet up with other libertarians and get some sort of social thing going on here as well. So my favorite thing was getting to see a lot of these people that I've been interacting with as Tasting Anarchy on Twitter or now as Chillderburg on Twitter, and just kind of, shaking the hands, talking ideas. Because even in libertarianism, the diversity of opinion and ideas is so vast.
Yeah, and the people that we're kind of associated with are very close to a lot of our opinions.
Yeah.
And even then, there's like that difference.
Yeah, there's huge different people who are just kind of interested in ideas. I think probably my favorite part of the weekend was after you and I went into the lake yesterday and we're swimming, and then I looked up on the shore and Victoria was sitting listening to people talk.
Yeah.
So I was like, yes.
Finally. And it looked like a little bit of participation too.
Yeah. So she enjoyed it. She liked listening to it. I think it was kind of, I don't know, I can't speak for her, but I think it was a lot of like
just Dino.
I think it was a lot of it was Dino. He's definitely a guy who will talk, and he's got tons of interesting stuff to say,
and like a good knowledge base.
Yeah,
because it's not just like, oh, and then Britney Spears did this. Like it's very poignant, like to the point, not to the point, because I mean, like everybody's very verbose in these circles, especially when they get not the hobby horse, because that's like kind of seems like you're like a downplay on what it was and kind of like a negative. It's like when you get the opportunity to, I almost said pontificate, which sounds bad to me too. Like, I don't know if that necessarily has a negative connotation, but like you get the opportunity to
marinate in it,
to
like
let it out,
like just kind of like, let's just sit and...
hey, no one's looking for a 15-second sound clip.
Right.
Like, I have an opportunity to talk.
Yeah, because it was just basically like, if you guys like long form podcasts, it was like a really long in-person long form podcast but dynamic. So like I'm talking to Dino about different things, and then like somebody else starts a conversation up,
Will
and he
and
gets
Jared,
pulled over, and Will and Jared, and then like Carr's talking about snowboarding
or Jared and I are out there being cornhole champs because we only played like 3 or 4 games, but like absolutely just did not lose.
Yeah, so I think that it's one of the and then we had like just kind of like silly things too, like we had to raise money for freeross.org. Rollo had I know that he's corrected me several times on that.
But everybody was calling him Rollo there, and it didn't seem to matter.
I think he just got tired of going like, well, I say Rollo, and everybody's like, okay, Rollo.
Well, put an A in it.
Yeah. But he baked that fruitcake, so we all guessed, and who won?
Oh, somebody's favorite lovable host.
Right.
So I did win the fruitcake guess at a good 2.6 pounds, and then donated all of the winnings to Free Ross. And then donated the cake to the rest of the party.
Yeah, so we tried that, and Rollo makes a really good cake.
Yeah.
You know what? And my wife brought this up that I need to have a checklist. We forgot to share. So for those of you who listen to this show and listen to Friends Against Government and Rollo and Slappy and a myriad of other things, there has been a Twitter debate going on. Actually, you may not even be privy to this unless you picked it up at Chillderburg.
Probably not.
Butter versus lard.
Ah, yes.
This is the argument. So Carr
I did hear that.
Okay, so Carr and Rollo are firmly on the side of lard, and Carr and Rollo. I don't remember who I said. So Carr and Rollo, lard, Bird and Slappy, butter. And I came in and trumped them all, and I was like, you guys got to have sallow, which is what Victoria uses to cook. It's just rendered pork back fat. It's basically lard.
Yeah.
And but
pork
like
lard.
with spices and things like that. And I brought some to share.
And then, I saw sallow on the board. I was wondering why sallow was there.
Yeah, and I forgot to bring it out and give it to everybody.
It.
Yeah, so, oh well. We'll have to do it another time.
So the question would be...
Yeah.
So are we talking as like the cooking base? Like, for like a skillet or something like that, using lard v butter? Or are we talking like in all applications?
Well, we actually eat sallow plain.
No. I'm saying like for this debate. Like,
yeah, so I guess it depends. Like, so... Yeah, I don't know. I think butter has its uses, and I think lard has its uses. Actually, shout out to Culinary Libertarian. He goes into correct uses for lard a lot and correct uses for butter because they are used for different things.
They're not fully interchangeable, but like Evan would like he was taught like he had both.
Yeah,
like one for one application, one for the other.
Right.
So like that's we usually use butter at the house. Just because it's easier to... It's not that it's easier to get a hold of. We have butter for the other things you use butter for. Well, but like we made tortillas the other day.
Oh, okay.
And we used like full-on lard.
Like
we made like actual tortillas with a tortilla press and everything like that.
So one thing that, and maybe you and I will disagree on this, I don't know. I don't think bacon grease is lard. Lard is rendered. That, to me anyways. Like it's clarified or not clarified, but filtered and rendered.
And it's shelf stable.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily...
And bacon grease isn't... I mean, you can keep it on the counter for a while, but it'll go bad. It goes rancid.
Yeah, we use a lot of bacon grease too.
Yeah.
So...
But I just wouldn't call bacon grease lard. I'd call it bacon grease.
Well, I always thought lard was specifically cow fat.
Oh.
Like if you asked me like what's lard made out of, I would have said fat. And for like what type of fat, I would have said cow fat. I would have
always called that tallow, is beef fat.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's the same thing.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, the problem with English is it adopts so many words, and then depending on what culture you're coming from, like, it's like, oh, it's really this. So, like, we should have been like, no, ghee.
Yeah, well, we use ghee a lot. We use a lot of ghee, which is clarified butter.
Yeah, with the milk proteins removed.
Yeah, yep. It's I like ghee a lot. It's got that butter flavor, but it's also really... And...
Not that butter is hard to cook with.
Well, the problem with butter is that it burns easily, and and then you don't get a buttery flavor. You still get a lot of the like.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
And ghee does too.
I mean, everything burns to a certain point, like unless it's asbestos.
Yeah,
actually, asbestos. There's certain things that will burn asbestos. Like,
but I mean, there was. So I've got like. I'll use a lot of the fats interchangeably. We also use a lot of olive oil for stuff, but olive oil has its own application. So it's I won't use it for everything. And, but I would always say Rendered beef fat is tallow. Rendered pork fat is lard to me. Then bacon grease is bacon grease.
What's rendered chicken fat?
I don't know.
Really hard to do.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there's not a lot of it. And then sallow, which is what Victoria has, is rendered pork back fat. It's very good. We use it a lot and just add it to soup to give a lot of flavor to it. But you can also, we just eat it cold on bread, like salami or whatever. You just I'll put mayonnaise on it, but so mayonnaise and back fat, and it just is good. Or we'll just eat it plain out of the package, and it's.
We should start the next version of this debate: butter versus mayonnaise.
Probably, that's right. Because for the listeners, when we were traveling down to Chillderburg, Victoria goes, "Hey, do you want a sandwich?" I was like, "Yeah," and so she makes me a sandwich. And I take a bite, and I'm like, "Did you put butter on this?" She's like, "Yeah, it's mayonnaise and butter, or butter and salami, or what? I think it was actually Moskovskaya is what she had, and or it might have been, I don't remember what it was, one of the Skyas, and
which is like Russian for salami.
Yeah, and but like it wasn't terrible. It's just butter instead of mayonnaise. It doesn't make any sense to me.
This must be a California thing.
Okay,
because like you and my wife are obsessed with putting mayonnaise on a sandwich for some sort of like,
make it moister. More
moist.
Like
to me that doesn't make sense.
Huh.
But I used to eat bread and meat sandwiches. You know me, like I didn't put any condiments on it. Now, like when I make a sandwich for like work, like I'll take like a French baguette, slice it in half, and I'll put like creamy horseradish on one side, which is I think it's a mayonnaise base because it's creamy horseradish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got cream in it, so I don't know if there's a dairy, but it's shelf stable, so I don't think it's dairy.
Okay.
And then I'll put spicy brown mustard on the other side, layer of cheese, meat in the center, and then when I get to work, I pull the sandwich apart and I toast it as an open face and put it back together.
It actually sounds pretty good. I'd probably eat that.
Yeah, it's actually really good. But yeah, so like my wife will put mayonnaise on her sandwich because like she's like talks about the moisture or whatever, and my wife chews her food very, very, very thoroughly, and I don't really. And that might be like if I had more like moist sandwiches, maybe I'd chew better.
Yeah,
because like maybe I'm just trying to swallow it to get rid. Like, my mouth is too dry. I'm dying. Yeah. But you also don't drink very frequently during the meal.
Yeah. So I'm very much a stage eater. So it's if I have 3 items that I'm eating, it's item 1 first, item 2 second, item 3, then drink.
Yeah.
And I don't usually drink in between.
Yeah, my friend's Vietnamese, like the Vietnamese guy I grew up with, like his parents, like we'd go out to like a buffet or something like that, and I'd be like the only one just like down in glass after glass of water. Everyone else would like have a sip or two, depending, and then like, you know, just eat this, like not an ungodly amount, but like eat their money's worth of food and then drink.
Yeah.
Like have a drink of water or like get tea or something.
Right.
Then.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. So going back to Chillderburg.
Yeah.
We said my favorite part was basically watching it come to fruition. Like I've been working on this for about 4 months and maybe about 5 months. And it's been an idea in my head since Carr tweeted that for the first time in, I think, 2017.
Yeah.
Or maybe the end of 2016 even. And just seeing it come to fruition, that was my favorite part. Seeing everybody get together in real life, talk, have a good time, enjoy the weather, enjoy the beach, enjoy the wine van. That brings us to what your favorite part was.
Well, my favorite part was the wine van.
Okay.
Because, like, not being local and not, like, necessarily, like, since I don't participate on Twitter and I'm not on Facebook and all that stuff, it's not that you're a control freak, but it's very hard to take constructive input from somebody for an event where they don't have some sort of like direct responsibility.
Right.
Like you put up a lot of the funds for the event and everything like that. So like when you're like, I want this,
right, it's
your money.
Yeah.
So it's happening that way because you're putting up money. Whereas like, you know, we expected someone to be there that we're not going to name at this point because it's, you know, we were under the impression he thought he was going to be able to attend, wasn't able to, whether it was known more further in advance or day of, whichever.
I think it was day of.
Yeah.
Or maybe the day before.
So that's perfectly fine. Yeah. But, you know, it's kind of like if we had been banking on him to give a speech or like kind of be a focal point, then that's kind of ruined. So it's hard for me to be like, hey, I'm 2,000 or whatever distance Virginia, where I live in Norfolk, is to Dallas, and then down to the campsite, which is another 3 hours away. Like, I want to be in charge of this, you know? So like, it was very easy to say like, hey, I'll drive the wine van. And if I didn't make it, it's not the end of the world. Mm-hmm. Somebody could have driven it. And there were plenty of people there that like, we probably could have gotten somebody who was sober and willing to stay sober.
Oh, I would have done it.
But
like,
you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. So like to be able to like, in my own way, contribute what was a very big thing for us being a wine podcast.
Right.
And being people who like the, not obscure, but like the peripheral.
Yeah.
Like we really want to do tours of Napa.
Yeah.
And we really want to do tours of like, you know, the
Sonoma
big,
County,
the big wine growing areas, but to be able to take people who are kind of big, like into Texas, you know, like a lot of the people who were there are Texans, and are proud of being Texan. It's not like they're going like, oh, I'm proud of Texas and I like the Texas government. No, they're just proud of being a Texan, which is, you know, you're pretty proud of it at this point. Like,
I like it here a lot.
Really like it.
Great. Yeah.
So to be able to like help facilitate people getting to experience Texas, and then a unique thing to Texas. Like Texas wine is unique in its own way, and especially in the up and coming, and to be able to help do that and like at the price of not drinking at that point after only having like 4 hours of sleep, it's like not that bad. Right. And, you know, I got to sit up front. So like I got like all the air conditioning vents I wanted on me because like Victoria was up front with me as well. So like, you know, she's not wanting a lot of those air vents. So I'm like, haha, all the vents on me. Like, so, and you know, it like was really interesting. And like, this is the other favorite part. So it's kind of a co-favorite part. It was hot.
Yeah.
And it would have been unpleasant if it had been that hot from the jump.
Yeah.
But it did not start, it really didn't get hot until like 2:30. And like even at the Processo, the first winery,
like
we were sitting in the shade, there was a beautiful breeze. Like it was a wonderful, like, I mean, to me personally, they had the site because it's like an estate, nice, it's big, like, you know, like
they didn't have the view Tornalox had, but it felt like a vineyard.
Yeah,
like it felt like being on
and the people seemed to me to just be happy we were there.
Yeah,
and then like by the time we left, it would like us leaving did not make a dent in the people that were there, and we had 15 people.
Yeah,
like it was so pleasantly surprised with how many people were there, and I haven't had to gotten to really have any of it, but I've got 2 bottles, one from each that I'll be able to enjoy when I get back. But it seemed like it wasn't like, hey, we're supporting Texas wine and it's kind of okay. No, like this was actually good wine. There were some wines that people didn't care for, but it was like, I'm not a big fan of this style anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought was interesting about Tornalox is they had a bunch of different styles.
Yeah.
And varietals. Whereas Processo didn't it's not that they didn't necessarily, because they did have, like, you could see the vineyard, the grapes, and they had them labeled. I mean, it was very impressive in that regard. But it was still like, hey, you know, we don't have a lot of bottles. Like, just each line is different. Yeah. And that was kind of the thing with Tornalox. Of, like, you know, here's our whites. And it wasn't like, oh, Chardonnay, Grigio, Riesling.
Yeah.
It was like Albarino, Viognier, and like some blend,
yeah,
you know, like
Vermentino was one.
Yeah.
I think that's one I got for you.
Yeah,
they had several.
Yeah, they had like quite a few different like types.
And a lot of Italian varietals.
Yeah, very like, which is kind of what we think would be good for Texas.
Yeah, well, that's I think I've mentioned this on the show before. Like I guess he's like the godfather of wine in Texas. Doc McPherson is. His opinion, I believe, was that Texas should be growing mostly Italian varietals, particularly like, South Italian,
like Southern Italian and Spanish varietals.
Yeah,
like,
and they do well with Spanish. And I'm actually getting more into Italian than I used to be. And I appreciate them more. It's for some reason to me, Italian wines are a little less accessible because they're complicated, more so than I think Spanish. Like Spanish, there's a lot of single varietals, or there's like I drink Rioja, which I know what that is.
Yeah.
Whereas like with the Italian ones, there's
the standard Italians, and then you get super Tuscans. Like you get like
all these weird
suddenly
ones,
like it's just a bunch of different additional stuff.
And I'm sure Spain's that way too, and it's just not.
I'm sure it is, but like for the like accessibility of the market, and then like, but it's also like French wines. Like you know, we're sitting here talking about left and right bank of Bordeaux, left and right blank blends, and then you know just all the different things that can happen in like French wines, and that's part of what we said about this originally when we started like almost 2 years ago. Kind of like, hey, like wine is complicated, and it doesn't have to be. And that's kind of one of the things I liked about like Processo is it seemed, and I wasn't drinking and I wasn't as around as much when the tasting was happening, but they genuinely seemed happy. Yeah. People were there to try what they were doing, and they were happy to talk about it.
And this was the difference between, I think it's Parissos. I'm not sure how to say it, because
we should have asked.
Well, there is another one that's similar to Processos.
Oh yeah.
That you and I've had actually. It's one of the Tempranos I sent you.
Yeah.
It's not Processos though. I'd have to look it up, but it might be actually. But one of the things that was different between them and Tornalux was Tornalux. Most of theirs are Texas High Plains grapes.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of the wines at Parissos
were grown on estate.
Were at least 85% grown on estate, which was pretty cool. And then filled with High Plains. The rest of it was filled with High Plains, which was cool. That every single wine they offered was 100% Texas vine.
Yeah.
And I think Tornalux is also, but Tornalux didn't do most of them on estate. The only one that I had at Tornalux that was on estate was their one that was only available to wine club members.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably limit that because I don't know if you walked over and saw their vineyard. Their vineyard's not very big, not nearly as big as the other one. But they started planting, I think, in 2014. So here we are in 2019. They're probably their vines are just now becoming mature,
like mature. Yeah, and that's like Virginia has a lot of this, and I don't go and see it, and that's disappointing in its own way for me, especially after having done it here and enjoying it so much. And like me, I also like to drive weird things. So driving the van was fun.
A lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other favorite part, which is completely unrelated, is when we had to stop for 30 minutes for the most insane storm.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And poor Peaceful Treason.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Rollo had left yet by then point, but like they got caught, and like you can see it on their Twitter, like they got caught kind of in the open on this.
Right.
And I think it basically had to hang out at the shower/toilets.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like I would have almost rather have been in my car, but they had the dog, so like kind of having the space for Rose to kind of stretch her legs.
Yeah.
Because the dog, definitely.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure that because it was a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, but it was interesting because it was. I mean, how long were we parked there? Like 30 minutes. Yeah, and it just kind of passed through, but it was intense.
And that was the thing is we were on the other side of a Target, like semi, like blocking a lot of the wind. I think we might have had an actual problem if we'd been full bore in the wind with the trailer attached.
Yeah, and also we noticed around that time that we had not either it come loose while we were driving.
We did not secure the lights correctly.
Right. So
either way.
So there was no brake lights on our trailer or blinkers on our trailer. So even though I'm very, very cautious when driving something with a trailer, actually I'm very cautious in that van because it's a 15-seater, it's very long. But with the trailer on it, it makes it even longer. And I'm very cautious to put my blinker on for longer, double tap the brakes so people can see it flash that I'm stopping. And we drove for an hour and a half with no lights, or possibly with no lights.
Yeah, we don't know how long we were out without lights. And like we drove past plenty of cops who didn't pull us over and been like,
"Hey,
what the fuck?
Why don't you have your lights on?"
Yeah. And that's the other thing that like kind of weirded me out is like on the way down we didn't see a lot of cops, but on the way up we took like a different route because of the way Google routed us.
Yeah.
But there were so many like hardcore SUV cop vehicles. Like I didn't see any cruisers until like we were in Dallas last night, like trying to go out to eat, which was another adventure of like everything being closed.
Actually, let's get into that after this real quick because this is very, very typical of you.
Yeah, typical of my luck. Yes.
So Mason, let's get into that real quick because we got about 10 minutes left before we got to go return the trailer. When we went to Beer Garden, what happens when you order a beer?
So, for those of you who don't know the Beer Garden in Portsmouth, Virginia, it's a family-run German restaurant. It's not in the Fest House style, so they have a Fest House version in Virginia Beach now, which means like family seating, which just means big row tables, so you kind of sit next to whomever. So, they have 300 plus beers. Mostly in bottles, but they do have a lot on tap too. And the problem is when you have 300 plus, like the waitresses may know the bottles, they may know the names, but they don't know what they have available. So we get in, and I am a connoisseur of beer in trying it. not necessarily like with wines, like I can kind of give an idea like, oh, this is a Tempranillo. This is kind of what you should expect. Doesn't mean it's what you're going to get, but give you an idea of what you should expect. I can do that for a lot of the mainline varieties. But with beer, I'm like, all right, it's a stout.
Yeah.
Like this one's got malt flavors. This one doesn't. I don't know why that's the case. So I like to order like a bunch of different weird stuff, but almost without fail, and this is pretty much anywhere I would go. It's even happened at the Mexican restaurant when they only have 3 beers on tap. The first beer I order, they don't have.
Yeah.
And it's not like, hey, yeah, we're out when I'm ordering it. It's, hey, here's all the beers for everybody else, and we don't have yours.
Yeah.
And on occasions, the second beer I order, they don't have. Yeah. So,
and it's not, and it's. I mean, this happened at a Mexican restaurant. This would happen multiple times at Beer Garden when we go there. When we went to Kogan's, the pizza place with a lot of beers on draft too. Every time, whatever the one you want, they come back after everybody else has been served. Sorry, we don't have that one, or the keg just kicked, or
and that's the thing is, and it's not like they like put in and came back right away and said, hey, I know it's been 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I've put in. It's like multiple minutes.
Yeah. So we arrived back in Dallas, dropped the trailer off.
And it was beautiful in Dallas.
Yeah, beautiful, great weather. Really nice weather today, too. We go to where you wanted to go, and where I kind of wanted to show you, just because it's kind of a cool Dallas thing, is...
Fuel City Taco.
Exactly, Fuel City Taco. And when we got there...
We noticed that the street lights were out.
Yeah, that's right. We noticed that the street lights were out. We get there...
Or traffic lights, because they weren't...
the traffic lights, yeah. We get there, and on the sign, closed.
On the taco side, it says closed. And it's just like it's a sticky note.
Yeah, and then you go over to the gas station part, and the gas station part also, sticky note, closed.
But the corn place, which is like...
the cup corn.
Cup corn, which is like somebody out there with looks like a propane burner, open.
Yeah, open. Yep. So there's people lined up to get corn cup or cup and corn or whatever it is, and so we're like, oh well, dang it, we're out. Where do you want to eat? And so you're like, well, Victoria likes sushi, so let's go
very
to
much like sushi. Yeah. And I was also kind of hoping to go to either like a sushi buffet, or like a Chinese buffet that also had good sushi, because I was just like, hey.
There's not a huge number of buffets here, which is interesting.
Well, and Ashley or my wife doesn't like buffets because she doesn't eat fast enough, and she doesn't eat enough to justify the price most of the time.
We like buffets or all you can eat places because what we do is we bring the tablet and watch a movie and just sit there for like 3 hours and just like pick at the buffet.
Yeah.
But there's a good sushi place called Oishi, and so I was like, let's go to Oishi. It's good sushi. They've got interesting sushi, and it's got stuff that I like. I don't like sushi.
And the entire time we were driving there, you were suggesting all these other places.
That's right. Yeah, I was channeling your mother. So going like, well, there's also this place. There's also this place, and you're like, no, let's just go to Oishi.
Yeah, because I was like, it was starting to get late at this point because we got back. We were supposed to get back about 6.
Yeah, and
then it took us a little while to get out of the apartment, and it took us 30 extra minutes to get home.
Right.
And then, so we're finally out the door. It's 7-ish.
Yeah.
And, Fuel City is 15 minutes away from Oishi. And it wasn't an easy drive over there.
No. So.
Because there's for those who have never been to Dallas, I have never been to Dallas until now, all of the road is under construction.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yep, everywhere. And it always is. I mean, we've been here a year. All of the roads still under construction, basically the same places. So,
yeah.
so everything's under construction. So it took us a while to get there. And we get to Oishi. Find a pretty good parking space, but the parking lot's pretty full.
Yeah, the parking lot is very full feeling.
Yeah.
And it's Sal's Restaurante, a restaurant that's next door.
Yeah.
The signs are on. Everything looks like it's in business there.
Yep.
And then we see a couple plus someone else, so third wheel like me in this situation, walking up to Oishi. And there's a sign on the door, and we can't tell if it's like what it says, but then they walk away kind of flustered looking.
Right. So we go up. We read the sign. The sign says, due to power outage, Oishi is closed.
Yes. So that's when we finally realized the storm also hit Dallas.
Yeah.
Took out Fuel City.
Yeah.
And Oishi.
And Oishi, right. So then we said, okay, well, we'll go, if we still want sushi, we'll go to Uptown and we'll go to Sushi, which is pretty good. Sushi, yeah, which is pretty good. I also suggested Zena, but then I was doing the same thing. I was going like, well, we could go here, we could go here, we could go here. I mean, there is no shortage of restaurant options.
Yeah, no shortage of restaurant options. But my thing was, I wanted you've been talking about Fuel City since you got here, and I want to get Texas barbecue.
Yeah,
but because it's the South, crap is randomly closed.
Yeah.
Like, and I understand like 8 o'clock on a Sunday.
Right.
That's a late time to be getting food.
Yeah.
That isn't like Whataburger, In-N-Out.
Right.
You know,
but
or
it's a city. That's
like
what was
Dickies,
weird about it.
You know, like something like that.
Yeah. But in a city, like I'm always. It's funny that I'm always surprised when things are closed because I'm like, well, it's a city. Why is it closed? But it's the city, but it is very much the South. You're right. Mm-hmm. So it does have like just random, it's closed this day. And a lot of stuff in Dallas doesn't open till like 5 a lot of times. So like Victoria and I wanted to go out to an early dinner at like 4 a couple weeks ago, and she wanted sushi, of course. And we happened to be downtown, and he had taken an Uber because I didn't want to drive and find a place to park, and everything didn't open until 5 and it was 4. So we ended up just kind of like hanging out until actually I think we ended up walking up to Mezamaya or something like that and not getting sushi after all. But so that was closed. So we went to Sushi. This time we called ahead of time.
Yeah.
And
Victoria called.
Yeah. They said, "Yep, we're open." We started heading down, and as we're driving through like Oaklawn and stuff like that to get to Uptown,
every other traffic light is out.
And then there's trees in the road.
Yeah, and this is the weird thing, like, because like in Norfolk, like when a traffic light goes out, there's usually a cop directing traffic. Yeah. And here, everybody was, it became like what was very nice about here is all the ones that still had some version of power, the red lights, it just turned to flashing red, so it was clear stop all around.
Yeah. So
that
was cool. But then we got to sushi, and it was fine. So you weren't super stoked about it because they had only complicated rolls.
Yeah, they had complicated rolls. They didn't have just like yellowtail. Like they had nigari and sashimi, but like I like just like a shrimp tempura roll without a lot of extra fluff. But like our waiter was pleasant, but not super attentive.
Right.
Like my water got refilled with warmer and warmer water every time, and it wasn't as pleasant a dining experience as it should have been, given that we got there at 8. We ended up leaving at like 10 by 10, like which is when they were closing. Right. Or they're supposed to close. So it was like it took 2 hours almost. Yeah. And like I was still a little hungry at the end. Okay. But I knew there was no opportunity to get like a quick roll. And that's kind of what frustrates me about places like that is they didn't have like really fast roll production. Yeah. And it's like it's a sushi restaurant, like I get it, like you got noodles. Those can kind of take a while to get, but like it's basically stir-fried noodles. It doesn't take that long. Right. But with the complicated rolls and there's a lot of other parts, everything was very tasty. Right. Good food. The rolls were very well made, very tight, like all of that. But it was still kind of like, okay, I really like eel. So like there was no eel. Okay. Or there was eel, but it wasn't like a big thing. But I'm also from a place that is on the water. So like we don't have as many classy sushi restaurants like this because it is a classy restaurant. Yeah. The prices weren't so exorbitant that it's like this is beyond normal sushi price, but it was like they just didn't have the basic rolls that I was looking for, and that might be just volume availability.
This is sort of this brings one. We'll close on this just because it's just something that's funny about my personality versus your personality, and apparently everybody's personality is. Other people notice bad service, and I am completely oblivious to it, I think. Because we had one of the wineries we went to, apparently other people thought it didn't have the best service. I was totally fine with it.
Well, that's the thing is, like...
I was having a good time just talking to people, running around, seeing how things are going. And...
Well, like, one of the problems with it was like, you couldn't give your whole... It's not like they had a tasting of 6, and that was the tasting. You could taste almost the entire menu. Oh, so then, like... She had to individually pull bottles, and then like she was an older lady, and it wasn't like she's like, "Hey, I'm the owner, and we're really busy today, so I apologize. It's gonna be a little slow." Yeah, it was like when they came in, they're like, "Well, there's like a bunch of them. Only 8 of them were tasting, but then like a bunch of us tasted. Like I was kind of the only one who didn't." Now, when they found out I was the designated driver, and we had a designated driver, their service actually picked up almost immediately when they realized, like, no, these people showed up, brought a designated driver, like. No, they're actually going to spend money.
Maybe we should kind of make that known a little bit better on next time we do a wine tour thing like this. Is just let people know that we've got a DD. We're trying to hit multiple wineries. Let's try to get in and out.
Yeah, well, I think 2 is kind of the max you can do. Yeah, because especially if they're only open to 2 to 5.
Yeah. 12 to 5.
So, well, 12 to 5, like 2.5 hours at each one. That's a pretty long amount of time there. But it also gives the people the opportunity to, like, patronize it as a business. Maybe get to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
That's working there as opposed to in and out. Like,
right. That's true.
That's one of the things that we're talking about for Dos Vidania, or
Dos Vidania.
Yeah. Can't get it out right now. But, having things that occur at a scheduled time, but with no obligation to anybody.
Right.
Like, hey, let's do, somebody does morning yoga. Somebody's doing like
evening hike or something.
Or evening hike or an evening friend meeting.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, they're over there having a friend meeting every evening, kind of as a, like, well, what's that? Well, it's where people sit and contemplate whatever they need to contemplate for an hour in silence.
Right.
And if you feel the need to speak.
Yeah, you can.
You can, but don't expect everybody to, like, it's not a conversation. It's,
Right.
Like, so that, those sort of things where it's very individualistic, but also the group is doing it. And if somebody, like, if we're doing yoga or something like that, somebody who's always wanted to try it, but never had the money to do it or isn't comfortable normally, it's like, hey, you're amongst new friends. Like, you fart. Like, it's yoga. Like, we're here to better ourselves and have a pleasant morning.
Right.
And if you can join us, that's great.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to end. So everybody look forward to us sharing lots of information about Chillderburg Dose. I think I'm going to try to do like a monthly news podcast about it. And I'm sure Mason will be a frequent attendee and others as well. So look forward to Chillderburg Dose. Follow Chillderburg at Chillderburg on Twitter. We do have a group on Facebook that I'm not super active on, but I'm going to try to get that picked up. You can also go ahead and sign up for the newsletter, which I'm going to try to make monthly. It is at chillderburg.com. Want to do the plugs for Tasting Anarchy?
Yeah, so you can follow us on Tasting Anarchy at Tasting Anarchy on Twitter. You can also go to tastinganarchy.com and leave comments on the shows if you like. If you could rate, review us on iTunes. We also are on YouTube if you prefer listening to it on YouTube. There's not a video component, but if you like YouTube, certainly like to see the numbers go up over there.
Yeah.
Or if YouTube is just kind of your platform, hey, we're also there. Twitter at tastinganarchy@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. Also Friends Against Government, Mr. Sue, Peaceful Treason,
Dinophiles, Maddie K, Erase the State.
Erase the State.
I know I'm missing people.
I know we're missing people. Gentleman from Chicagoland. Crowdfunding Government.
Yeah. You can follow him on Twitter. I don't think he has a show.
I thought he did for some reason, but
I think he just does guest stuff. Also, Shane and, or is it Sean?
Shane
and Miko,
I believe so.
From What's Happening Now.
Yeah.
And all of the other Chillderburg people, just go look for the hashtag Chillderburg One or at Chillderburg and just see who's been posting, and you'll find some awesome podcasts.
Rollo and Slappy.
Oh, of course. Rollo and Slappy. One more time, the wine that we were enjoying was a near $200 bottle called Rubiso Reserve. It's a 2014 Cabernet Sauvignon. Very good.
Yeah, it definitely improved throughout drinking.
Yeah, it did. It did improve throughout drinking. I think the decanter is very nice.
Yeah,
it's just
a little
kind
hard to pour from.
It is weird to pour. The whole point of a decanter is before they would clarify wine before putting in a bottle, it's the thick side is to be able to catch the residue.
Yeah.
So it is awkward to pour it.
But it's for filtering purposes.
It fulfills its purpose. So I think that's a good place. We've got to go return the trailer. So from me at Tasting Anarchy, Jake, stay free.
Stay free.
Drinking wine's for you to drink wine. Wine's for you to drink wine. Wine's for you to drink wine. Pass that bottle to me. Hoy! Drink at me. Oh, give me some of that slop. Oh, pass that bottle to me. If you want to get along in Peterstown, buy some wine and pass it around. The age runs up to 49. All them cats, they love sweet wine. Drinking wine's for you to drink wine. Wine's for you to drink wine. Wine's for you to drink wine. Pass that bottle to me. Hoy! Wine, wine, wine. Elderberry. Wine, wine, wine. Cherry, cherry. Wine, wine, wine. Blackberry. Wine, wine, wine. Port and sherry. Wine, wine, wine. Oh, pass that bottle to me. Now down on Gill Street at Willie's Den, he wasn't selling but American gin. One soldier wanted a bottle of wine. He hipped that cat for $1 and a dime. I'm drinking wine for you to drink wine. Wine for you to drink wine. Wine for you to drink wine. Pass that bottle to me. Now I got a nickel, have you got a dime? Let's get together and get some wine. Some buys fifth and some buys fourth. When you get together, you're doing things smart. Drinking wine for you to drink wine. Wine for you to drink